Welcome back, everybody. I know we've been on a bit of a hiatus since the Swordsmith Village arc ended, but just like our favorite anime characters, we also need some time to rest and recover. With that being said, it's your host today, Bryan, and I am ready to give you the chaotic, gay, yaoi mowing energy that is JJK, Jujutsu Kaisen, and of course, I am joined by Emily and Hannah.
What's up, guys? Super excited to be diversifying our portfolio a little bit here, if you will. Um, Also, like Brian said, a little rude that this season is coming out after Pride Month is over, but we'll take it though. So excited, and also, um, really happy that this is going to give us something to talk about for quite a while because we're getting an actual full length season of something that's actually 23 to 26 episodes, somewhere in that range. I am sick of the 10 or 12 episode seasons. I'm going to say it. Why would you say something so controversial yet so brave? But I'm over
I'm
it.
only throwing shade at Demon Slayer now that we're not talking about it.
Listen, listen. And all 11 episodes were beautiful and perfect. However, nobody in this room would be complaining if it had been 24. So.
Nope. Okay, come Oh my gosh. All right, I'll go. I'm gonna just rip the microphone away from Emily here. Hey everyone, it's Hannah. And oh my gosh, my mind is in 5 million different places at once, but I just got back from Anime Expo and that was a wild time. But I am very, very excited to be talking about Jujutsu Kaisen and taking on a new arc of our own since Swordsmith Village arc is over. And I'm just really excited to talk about it and also throwing shade at Demon Slayer now because it was too short.
As they say, right? If you love something, let it go. I think.
Nope, I won't be doing that. I will be toxic instead.
Well, the toxicity of our city is increasing, and we will be moving on. So, with that being said, since this is a new show, we're starting as a squad. Let's take a moment to preface where we are in the story. Now, for me personally, I am somewhat through the manga. I am in the middle of the Shibuya arc, so that is going to be covered in this season. This season is going to cover both the Hidden Inventory and Shibuya arc. I'm in the middle, so I am not fully through this season, but I do know a couple things of what's to come throughout this season. And my favorite character is Gojo Satoru.
Wow, this feels weird. I haven't touched the manga. I am an anime only. It feels weird. So good news for all the anime onlys listening in. You're not gonna get spoiled because I physically can't spoil you. I know two spoilers, and they're big, but I don't know the context. I don't know when they happen. I don't know how they happen. So we're just gonna go along with that. But really excited. We'll see if I make it through this entire season without picking up the manga because I usually do because of my impatience. So we'll see. And then my favorite character is I don't know. Megami.
I knew that Hannah was going to say Megami.
Not
1,000%.
Itadori.
No, I knew that you were going to say Megami because he's moody and has dark hair.
I don't usually go for them. Wait. No.
You don't usually go for the. What about Giyu?
Oh, no. What did I do too? That's not Shine Boys. What are you talking about?
Girl, I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm sorry, Hannah. I think it's 2 against 1 in this one.
That's so much.
You do.
It's like the
You do
Jennifer
love-
Lawrence hot ones. What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean?
Okay, however, at the Demon Slayer panel at Anime Expo, I did get out of my chair when Giyu appeared on the screen and screamed at the top of my lungs. I didn't do that for Tanjiro. I did scream, but I did not get out of my chair.
All I'm saying is some moody, dark-haired boys never hurt nobody, especially not Hannah. And I had a strong feeling I was gonna say Megami, which is a phenomenal choice. So this one's gonna be a little fun for me and Brian, I think, too, to be talking about until Hannah decides if and when she's gonna pick up the manga because we both have read a good amount of it. I am I need to catch up a little bit more. I tend to read once they are physically printed in English. I like to just like hold something in my hands rather than scroll on a screen. And even then, I think I need to catch up a little bit. But I was at the end of the arc that I believe is titled The Culling Game. So, uh, decently deep into it, a little bit past what I think this season is going to cover. And really excited because Jujutsu Kaisen is very complex. It is a complex and deep narrative and power structure, and I am really excited to get to see it animated so that I can understand it better than I currently do at present. But we're in for some wild stuff that's coming for sure. My favorite character. Something special about Jujutsu Kaisen also is I think that a lot of the characters are really, really good, and it's hard to pick an incorrect favorite. Of the main four, I probably do like Yuji the best. I think he is a sweet sunshine boy and is really funny. But of the side characters, or the slightly smaller characters, I love Nanami. Nanami's probably one of my top favorites because I fully understand him. My man does not want to work overtime. I love Nanami. And also, I need to shout out the big beefy himbo Toto. I love him too. I think he's hilarious. My best friendo.
So,
Jennifer
Love him.
Lawrence.
I love the himbo. Like, give me any himbo character, and I love him in any show, any one of them. So, anyway, there's a lot of good characters. I'm excited to get to see more of them this season.
Sweet. All right. Well, with that being said, let's take our first venture into the Dark Trio, shall we? And we open with a little preface to Suguru Geto, who is telling us what it tastes like to absorb a curse and how he knew that he was signing up to protect the weak as a Jujutsu sorcerer. What kind of tone does this set for the opening of the season?
So this one's interesting because we're really hearing from a character that we have not seen a whole lot of, and obviously we know that this is like taking a step back in time as well, just judging by like the physical appearance of these characters and by their outfits. We can tell that they are students. And we know that in the last season where we saw them, they were not. So so far it's setting a slightly more lighthearted tone. It feels kind of like the high school drama, but mixed with something that's very dark, which I think also Jujutsu Kaisen does really well. It has subverted a lot of expectations for me and did so in the first season. And so, like, yes, you have this like kind of like high school age student Geto that's talking about this, but he's talking about like some rather heavy topics, and it seems like it's like a weight that is put on him. Like he knows that he is tasked with protecting the weak. And while that may be an honor, it's also not necessarily something that he had an active choice to do or not. If you have this skill, you just have to do what you have to do.
yeah, it's an ominous opening. I had the privilege of getting to see the first 90 seconds of it at Anime Expo. And this was before even Japan got to see it, so that was pretty cool. So that highlight. But, he's just kind of talking about it tastes really bad. I'll say just really bad, not exactly what what we got in the translation. But it also is setting up for, at least for me as an anime only, I'm sitting here like, okay, this is clearly a step back in time, like Emily said, because of their outfits, but also like the last time I saw this guy, he was a villain. So something's going on here. He was fighting against the sorcerers at, Jujutsu High. So what's going on here? And it's very much piquing my interest because what I'm learning is that we're about to get quite a bit of backstory because this whole episode is back in time. Like, we don't see any of our main characters. So, really quite the way to open up the episode.
Right. I think it was really interesting the way that they kind of opened this. Now, in the scene wasn't in the manga either, so that was a really nice add, I think, because that is anime original, so that was nice. But going forward, we kind of skip past that and we go into like a true rainy scene, right? No horror movie or no horror scene is complete without some rain in it. And we have our car of trio of Jujutsu sorcerers. How does this compare and how does this environment feel in comparison to other animes or spooky tones that you've seen before?
Well, I'm someone who stays away from horror, so I'll admit I don't see this kind of stuff super often. The last time I saw something kind of like this was in Wednesday, which is definitely not an anime. So it's definitely a little bit spookier than what I normally would watch. However, I do like the vibes. It's giving me like Stranger Things vibes. Like we're in this haunted mansion, it's raining outside, one person's scared, one person isn't. And then we get this like weird sorcery thing. And I'll admit, I don't understand the power structure in Jujutsu Kaisen at all, but I'm excited to find out what it means.
Everybody loves a good haunted mansion, right? We've definitely seen similar tropes, even in Jujutsu Kaisen already. I mean, in season 1, we opened with like, one of the first things that Yuji had to work on was the school, which to me like had kind of a similar vibe. But we've seen similar things also. Demon Slayer obviously is our forte. We've seen some creepy houses in Demon Slayer before. Namely in season 1. One of the first few episodes, Tanjiro walks into the hut, at night with Nezuko, and that's like one of the first demons that they encounter in the entire show. There's something ominous there. And then, of course, we have the Suzumi mansion a little bit later. And it's like
trying
something's wrong.
so hard. I was trying so hard to not bring up Demon Slayer.
Well, it's too late for that. But it's true. And there's something to be said about like the haunted house trope in any kind of like fictional media. Obviously I could go on about literature and like the haunted house and what it means, but haunted spaces, but Eastern literature and media handles it in a really interesting and slightly different way, where I personally feel like it's sometimes reversed, where it's like in Western media, sometimes what it is that's creepy about the house, so you don't want to go to the house. But then in some of these stories, it's like you're already in the house, and now you're figuring out that something's wrong. So there's definitely something ominous and something cool. But does it compare? I think so. But I think that it takes it up a notch on the creepiness level.
Solid. Now, as a horror fan myself, I love that we got a very long, cold open into what's really going on here. We eventually begin to find our two characters, still unnamed, to be trapped in a barrier. And they originally started to search on the separate floors, right? One of them went to the first floor, the other one went to the second. And then we find out they didn't go up the stairs or down the stairs at any point, but they are standing next to each other. What?
I love this trope too, and this is something we also just saw recently. If you have watched Chainsaw Man, we saw something very, very similar to this towards the like middle end of the season, and I love this entrapment method. I don't know exactly what the right word is, but like it's like, okay, so is this like something that is this monster locking them into space or into time? And I think that's a really fun question. Especially because from what it seems, this in regards to like answering that question goes a slightly different way than Chainsaw Man does, but with a similar result for our two current protagonists, Meimei and Utahime. It's really cool, but very scary, I imagine, to be realizing like, oh, we're walking past the same scratch marks I've made on the wall over and over and over and over and over.
You took away my talking point about Chainsaw Man because it definitely gave me those vibes. So I'm gonna bring up Demon Slayer. We should have a counter for the YouTube video, just a counter. How many times does Demon Slayer get brought up on the podcast about Jujutsu
Minutes
Kaisen?
since Demon Slayer has been brought up.
0. on brand for us. I mean, similar. We just talked about the Suzumi Mansion in Demon Slayer, you know, where like they're searching through these doors, they can't get out. It's not exactly the same, but very similar. Like you're pretty much just trapped inside this place that clearly has a bad thing in it, you know, and it's trapping you so that you will die, so that it can kill you. And I would be 100% Utahime. Is that her name? Right? I'm getting her name right?
Yeah.
I would 100% be her, where she's just like screaming when she was opening those doors right before we figure out that they're kind of like in this unending hallway. I was like, that is so me, girl. Like, that is so me. I would be the one that's just like, open door, like screaming, "Wah! Yeah!" Like all the different kinds of screams with different like words to it. Yeah, I felt that in my soul.
I felt that. I felt that hard. All right. And honestly, I really liked some of those scenes too, especially when they went under the bed, right? And it was just the mice under the bed, but still the boogie monster under the bed, a very classic call to every tale, right? And as we kind of come out of this, we start to see them like speculating, okay, like what type of barrier is this, right? Like, are they patching from space to space? Like, as you move through it, right? Are they connecting the spaces? And I actually really liked, again, this actually still is an anime original scene, but the way that they explained it with the boxes on the floor was really cool because it was actually a really good way to understand the barrier itself. But doesn't really matter because as they're attempting to figure out how to break the barrier, what do we realize? Gojo shows up and he's like, "Hey, I got you, don't worry, buddy." What do y'all think of Gojo so far? I mean, we know he's powerful, but what tone and what kind of vibes do you get from him at this point in time?
I mean, it's Gojo. Like, he's such a mysterious character. That's something I felt in season one was just like, he's clearly the strongest, but we don't know why. How, like, how and why did this happen? And both of you are looking at me like, all I need to do is pick up the manga and I'll find out. But I'm letting it play out in front of my eyes right now via the anime. I too have a very, very hard time understanding the power structure in this manga, and I had a hard time following the fight scenes in the manga of Demon Slayer. You don't want me to watch or to read the Jujutsu Kaisen manga. I will literally just not know what's happening. But anyway, tangent. One thing is Gojo the one who actually broke the barrier? It wasn't like what they had decided to do, it was him. See, I didn't realize that. I thought it was just like their idea broke the barrier. So, I mean, clearly he's super strong. He mentions it multiple times, but I would say he definitely, you know, is he like Yorichi strong? I don't know. But we'll see. I don't like comparing people to two different universes. I need to stop doing that. Anyway.
Oh man, he's the strongest, right? That's what he keeps it. And actually, there's something interesting that he says we'll get to in just a minute in this episode. But we know from the season one that he has referred to himself as the strongest, so he's quite cocky. Granted, has he earned being able to say those things? He's never lost. At this point, he's never lost a fight, and it's not been close either. So so he is the strongest. Where does he rank on my list of strong anime characters? Well, I don't know if he could take on Anya in a fight. Anya.
Know where that was going? That's not what I expected.
Oh my god. Those memes of Anya and like the scenes of the most grotesque genocides in anime kill me. But he is definitely up there. I'm not gonna get into it too deep because somebody is gonna come and say that Goku could wipe them all out. To which I say Sailor Moon.
Yes, the correct answer. Oh my god.
Wait. I think Murata solos them all.
Oh my god. No.
You're right. I forgot.
We forgot about the most powerful man in all of anime, Murata.
Oh, Murata.
Oh,
Oh
man.
my god.
All right. 2 quick points before I move on to the next question. First off, there is a theory out there in the anime community that Yuji and Anya are shared souls or are brothers and sisters. I support it, okay?
Me too. Me
There it
too.
is. Right? Because the Waku Waku next to each other, it's on Twitter somewhere. Go find it. Go give yourself like 10 seconds of joy. Bookmark it so you can come back to it when you feel sad. Not that I've done that. Don't think that about me. But as we go forward, right, eventually they get back to Jujutsu High, and after they've kind of defeated the cursed spirit, everyone's regrouped at this point, right? And they come to find out someone forgot to set the barrier. Gojo gets a solid bonk on the head for it, and we flash to a scene where Geto and Gojo are having a moral battle on the weak and strong, and if normies, quote unquote, should need to be shielded from the unknown of the Jujutsu world. How does this compare to the real world and what the public should or shouldn't have access to?
Well, I mean, I'm sure there are so many things that we probably are protected from that I have no clue, and I have a healthy respect also for things that I just don't understand that probably exist. So I'm good. I'm a normie and I'm cool with whatever's out there that's like in place to protect us. But on an even like more basic level, it's hard because it's like are either of them inherently wrong? I don't know. And we've talked a lot in our podcast episode about like just choices, and we know from like Gojo's personality that he is cocky and that he is self-centered and he's selfish. And his opinion here is that like the strong are the strong, and that's natural selection basically. And like it's harsh. I don't know that he's wrong, but I don't know that Geto is wrong either in that he's like, well, no, like the strong are the strong and we were chosen at random in some cases, and having that gift means that it is our duty to help protect those that are weak. Um, and that's another sentiment that is echoed in a lot of anime, definitely in Demon Slayer, and in several others. But the idea is that like there's a select few who are able to defend those who may not even have any idea that they need to be defended. And then those who are acutely aware. But uh, yeah, I don't know if either of them are wrong. There may be a side that I resonate with a little bit more of the two.
Yeah, I mean, it does happen in the real world. Even like something that comes to mind, again, not anime, but I grew up watching this crime show called Castle. And like there was this one point in time where they're dealing with like a terrorist threat essentially, so they have like Homeland Security come and help them, and there's this whole thing, and they have this whole conversation about like you have to wonder how many times this happens and we as a public just don't know because they handle it. And it kind of like reminds me of that. Like I think in the real world there are people that just handle things so that the general public, just normies like us who don't really have the strength to take on anything like that, can just continue to live our lives without a care in the world. We're worried about our jobs, we're worried about going to anime conventions, we're worried about running podcasts because there's people that are willing and strong enough to do so. And of course, in the anime world, Emily brought it up. This is a common theme, at least that I see like in Attack on Titan and Demon Slayer, is like there's these chosen ones, these ones that are stronger, that can protect those who are weaker. And it's interesting that Gojo, he is very cocky and proud of his strength, but it's interesting that he's on the side of things where it's like natural selection, like we're strong to fight, we're not really here to protect the weak. And again, it piques my interest because Geto is the one that I know becomes a villain. So I'm like, what is happening here? What is going to happen? It's a fun mystery. I'm kind of happy that I haven't read the manga yet.
Right, and that's a really good point to bring up. Is like because I kind of am the in between of Hannah and Emily. I also don't know why. Right, that Geto turned sides. Like, that's still a mystery to me as well. So that is something that I'm still, getting to. So this is kind of like a mystery for me as well. But in the same breath, Geto or Gojo growing up, and I know kind of why he's the strongest. So that makes sense to me. But a lot of this is a very in between, wish-washy area of like gray areas. And it's really cool to kind of watch it unravel, either on my screen or either on my small screen or my big screen. But I really have enjoyed kind of what I've seen so far from the show. And going forward, right, they get a little bit more heated with each other. And honestly, the romantic tension between them can be cut with a knife. All right, listen. Like, they're like pointing at each other, and it feels more than just a fight, okay? Now, before they start a brawl, they're interrupted with their new mission assignment, which is to protect the star plasma vessel so that their principal can absorb the vessel in order to stop evolution. And also, fun fact, the principal's name is Tengen-sama. Didn't know the sound Hashira was here.
Oh, I didn't think about the entire time.
Stars are flashy.
I have no idea. Like, I need to watch that scene again. I have no clue what's happening here. Something about evolution, and Tengen-sama is apparently going to destroy the world if he doesn't absorb star plasma vessel, and it's this girl that's in a bath. That's what I got.
Well, you're not far off. JJK abridged.
Oh no!
Well, so we have not seen the elusive Tengen-sama at this point in the story, but basically he is this, like, elusive and almost mythical figure at this point that is kind of like the origin of, like, Jujutsu Kaisen sorcery, being able to, like, he's like gravity, if that makes sense. Like, if a person could be the thing that maintains, like, the order of almost like a natural law, that's basically what he is he's like this thing that tethers and like allows people to like have domains and domain expansions and like allows it to work. But he's also like literally hundreds of years old, because his special ability and his like, like curse technique is that he is immortal, but not without a price. There's always a price to the curse techniques. And so the price is that he needs essentially like a new vessel, because vessels expire, human bodies expire, especially when they're that old. And so he needs to change his human form every several hundred years, something like that, so that it doesn't expire. Because if it does and he goes supernova, then all of the rules that they have come to understand are going to also implode or explode. And that means that like chaos would reign and like curses could take over, and like he could inadvertently cause the destruction of the world. Or even worse, that's the best case scenario if he expires. The worst case scenario is that he actually turns into something evil himself and turns on the planet, and he would hold a lot more power than even somebody like Gojo does. So hopefully that helps a little bit clear it up. But he can only like be absorbed by special people. It can't just be like, you can't just pick Joe Schmo off the street. So the star plasma vessel means like this is a specially selected individual who is capable of being like the next physical vessel of Tengen-sama. And so in this case, it's this girl that we hone in on in the bathtub, which kind of sucks for her. Like, and I think we're going to get more into this in future episodes, but like, it kind of stinks that just like by chance you have to lose yourself to become somebody else completely, just because of like your genetics, or like you're just lucky, just random. We're gonna find out, but we know that it's her.
Yeah. I thought this is a really interesting concept to bring up, and I like that you brought up kind of losing yourself to become someone else, because I definitely think it was like very similar to other things that we've seen where you get this fate passed on to you. You don't have much of a choice. It really kind of sucks to see happen. But one other thing I did want to mention that was a quick comedic moment, that Gojo compared this evolution to Digimon. he was like, "Oh, we can't let him go to Darkmon, but him as Skullmon is okay." And then Geto's like, "Sure, if you want to think of it that way." And I was like, "Gojo, that is me comparing it to like some serious ass conversation, me referencing any anime." Like, are you kidding me? It was great. And as we go forward, right, the mystery doesn't stop because there are two groups, Q and the Star Religion group, who have already started their assault on the vessel as Geto and Gojo arrive to pick her up. We get a nice action exchange here. Tell me what you liked about these kind of fight scenes that we see.
So one thing I like immediately is that they're split up. They immediately are like supposed to be doing this fight together, but they're immediately like, get as far away from me as you can. And so we have like Gojo on the outside, Geto on the inside, but both of them kick so much ass alone that, like, for one thing, that makes me think that whatever they're up against ultimately with this challenge means that it's serious enough to require the skills of both of these sorcerers, who are clearly both extraordinarily strong. I don't know. I don't know. It's like it almost scares me because it's like, man, this is like an ambush almost with these two different groups, but they both handle it and they like take care of it so quickly that like these two interactions are done by the end of the episode, or close to being at least somewhat resolved. We obviously know that there's going to be more members of these religious or like fanatic cults. Something I also liked, just to like take it one step back, was Gojo, and I brought this up briefly earlier, and we know in season 1 he refers to himself as the strongest. In this, as this is happening and they're walking together, he says, "We're the strongest. We're both the strongest." And I think that's interesting because that's a big differentiation. Bum.
I really liked this action sequence. I thought it was quick, but it was very interesting. Like, it had me kind of at the edge of my seat, like, okay, what's gonna happen? And it got to that point, where the end of the episode came, and I was like, not again. Not this again. And we have to deal with this for 23 weeks, something like that. The rest of the year. Okay. It's gonna be a long second half of the year. But I really I liked how they were like assaulted. Like, the building was exploded. And Gojo like saw the explosion and was like, "Are you okay?" Like, on the phone, he's like, "You good there?" Like, oh my gosh, they're so confident, which tells me they're like, obviously I know they're gonna be okay because this is a flashback, but also I'm like, I feel like something's gonna challenge them in this fight, and that's going to be like a huge deal. But really interesting. I really liked the dynamics of, Geto kind of flying through the air, carrying her, and then going to Gojo with the knives on him, and he's just like, I don't even remember exactly how he said it, but he's like, "My rules, I'll kill you," something like that. And I was like, okay, all right, you're cocky, but I like you. And also, I'm very interested because, like Emily said, the whole him saying we are the strongest, it's just building up this like curiosity in me, and I hope I get some answers soon about what the heck happened to Geto. The face Emily's making right now is worrying me.
Hannah, we're in the same spot right now. I don't know what's happening. I know.
Oh, that makes me so sad because I was like, maybe by the end of this arc, which I know is only like 5 episodes, I'll know. I guess not. It's fine.
I don't know if we find out this season though. That's the thing. I don't think we find out this season, Hannah.
Oh man.
So I'll have to keep reading and let you know. But and I love that you already brought it up, Hannah, that line where Gojo's saying his rule is, "I won't kill you as long as you cry and apologize."
That's
classic.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Any final thoughts on the episode before we jump to favorite moments?
Great opener.
Great opening episode. One thought that I do have is that I feel, something that's interesting and that has like really picked up in the last year is that everyone's been like mad at Mappa about like animation styles. So there's something I'm curious about with this season. I have zero issue. I think it looks absolutely beautiful, but there is a difference between like how this episode looks and how season 1 looks and how the movie looks. But knowing that the movie looked exactly, to me, like the same animation style as season 1, I'm very curious as to whether this is like an intentional choice because this is set in the past. To like make it like a little bit simpler, a little bit like foggier, a little bit blurrier. I think that it probably is. So I'm interested to see like once we pick back up in present time and we're like in the Shibuya arc of this season, if it changes back. Because if they do that, I think that would be so cool.
That's not something I noticed at all. Right over my
Yeah,
head.
I don't really notice that kind of stuff unless someone brings it up on Twitter, and then I'm like, ooh, what? Comparing.
It's subtle. It's like the lines are like a little heavier and like there's a little bit of a difference and some people are like it's ugly and I'm like I think it's on purpose. I think it's because this is a flashback. But we'll see. We'll see if I'm right in like 5 or 6 episodes.
Perfect. All right. Well, moving into my favorite moment. My favorite moment, of course, was referencing the comedy here. I love seeing everyone's face after Mason asked about who put up the barrier, and everyone was like, oop. Like, specifically Ghetto's face, he was like, it was so bad. It was so funny, though. Like, there were just so many other derpy moments throughout the episode that would just made, it just brought kind of the levity that you need with something that, of course, we haven't even gotten that far, but it already feels very dark, right?
I do love derpy moments in anime, and that this episode was full of it for sure. I have to say, it's so like it's such a short moment, but I absolutely loved when Gojo was just like on the phone with Geto as he's flying through the air after the building explodes, and is just like you like not even worried, you're good. Like I thought that was so hilarious, and I actually like let out like a chuckle, like a loud chuckle. I was like, that was funny. So I really enjoyed that.
My favorite is something we haven't touched on yet, but it's the very last of this week's cliffhangers for next week with the introduction of somebody who identifies themselves with the last name Fushiguro and who is, for those who know, this season of Jujutsu Kaisen's Haganazuka character. And do I like him? No. Do I love him? Absolutely.
Listen, I have seen images of him on the internet, and that man is fine, but also I can tell he's a total douche. So
He is
I'm
a
interested to
bad
see what
man.
happens.
He's a
I
bad man.
I think
But
I
I
know
love
how
him.
he's related to Megumi, but I'm not going to say it because there's
Some
probably
people
people
think
listening
that
that
is
don't know.
Megumi on the internet. And I will say, without giving any spoilers, that that is not Megumi. That is
No,
absolutely
definitely not
1000%
Megumi. He's
Megumi.
related. I'm gonna
Mm,
say no. I'm not gonna say. I think I know
we're
what it
gonna
is.
find
I
out
think I might have
very,
actually
very
gotten
soon.
spoiled on it, but
That will be in this arc that we will find out. But uh, I very, very excited to see him animated because while he is not a good man, he is one of the most entertaining, I think, to watch. Certainly. So, and he looks great. He looks great. So, let's see some more of Mr. Fushiguro, who previously goes by the name Zenin. Also important.
there was a lot
Yeah.
of. I was like, eh.
Hannah's doing the Always Sunny in Philadelphia meme with like all the red like strings.
And if this goes there, then that means he's what?
Because as a flashback, right, the three main families of or like some of the main families are the Fushiguro family, the Zenin family, the Satoru family, and I believe Suguru's family. So those are some of like the main like sorcerer families. So this is definitely giving us some other context as well to think about, because that was in JJK 0 where I think they talked about that. But with that being said, we can't forget this week's Taisho era secret, because we're not dropping that just because it ain't Demon Slayer anymore. Don't you forget. So, this week's Taisho era secret is that Hannah lost her voice while she was at Anime Expo. You did hear her talk about how she screamed earlier for Giyu and for Tanjiro. Well, that's why she lost her voice, because she was screaming at Hanae-san, she was screaming at everybody up on stage, and she loved every single minute of it. Let's hope if she actually meets Hanae-san, she doesn't destroy her whole larynx, okay?
No, I will not scream in his face if I meet him. I'm just saying. I will be calm as a cucumber. But
Why do I
just
feel
have to
like it would
say,
be so strong internally though that it would like just burst on its own? It's like so excited that it happens so fast that there's not even a noise that actually happens.
I'm
Oh,
actually
man.
still, I don't know if you can tell, my voice is still a little bit messy because of it, but what an amazing time. I was sitting front row at the Demon Slayer panel. I freaked the frick out. I'm fairly certain Hanai-san somewhat knows of my existence, which is both terrifying and really cool at the same time. And yeah, I hope that he went home to tell his wife about that experience and said, man, that front row was really enthusiastic about Demon Slayer and loved it. I hope he loved it and was not freaked out in any way, shape, or form.
We love it, Hannah. We love it. All right. Well, with that being said, every episode has to come to an end, so we must bid thee adieu. But of course, don't forget to follow us on TikTok and Instagram at the Hashira Half Hour, or you can follow us on Twitter at Hashira Half. You can also catch these podcasts on YouTube as well, where Emily does some great edits. We've even done a little Godzilla cameo, if you will. So don't forget to check those out. We'd love to hear from you, so leave a comment on the podcast on Spotify or drop a comment on YouTube, and we would love to answer a question that you have. But that's all we have for this week, so umai.
Oh my.
Oh my.